This is Brian, Screenphiles.com with review. The movie I'm looking at today is The Void, directed by Jeremy Gillespie and Steven Kostanski. The Void is a really good movie. It revolves around these people who are trapped in a hospital surrounded by sinister evil forces and the weird things they're up to. The only problem is if you're a horror fan, like I am, and you watch this movie, you see so many other movies in it. Now, a lot of movies wear their influences on their sleeve. That in and of itself is not a bad thing. Though this movie, its influences are too obvious. And from where I sit, well, as I said, I enjoyed this movie. And it's a good movie, not at all bad, but its influences are so obvious that I would frankly rather watch those influences than this movie. For instance, a lot of this movie is Gillespie and Kostanski really admire John Carpenter, and it shows in the type of effects that they create for this movie. I believe they also work in special effects as well. So that admiration comes through, but also their admiration for his movies are a large part of this movie, and that's not so great. For instance, this movie is The Thing, especially effects-wise. This movie is Prince of Darkness, story-wise, with a little sprinkling of Clive Barker's Hellraiser. But primarily the John Carpenter influences are huge in this movie. And if you haven't watched a John Carpenter movie before, this may seem new and unique to you. If you have, then it's not. And I forgot to mention, there's also an element of John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13 as well. So now you have Assault on Precinct 13, The Thing, and Prince of Darkness. All John Carpenter movies, all very good movies, but I don't need them to be in this movie. And that's The Void's greatest weakness. Namely, it's in some ways lacking the originality that it needs. As I said earlier, I think it's great that these two directors so admire the work of John Carpenter. That's awesome, because John Carpenter is a great director. But their influences are too obvious to make this engaging for a horror fan. For a casual viewer, some of the effects may seem even shocking, especially in these days of CGI. Having really good practical effects, as The Void does, is, I hate to say a novelty, but it almost is at this point. But if the movie had just struck a more original tone, if the story went its own way, it would have been coupled with the practical effects, it would have been a much more engaging movie. Until the producers take what they learned and decide to make a more original screenplay, The Void is nothing more, unfortunately, than a bit of a curiosity, interesting though too derivative of other movies, other better movies I might add, to be worth much interest. This is Brian from Screenphiles.com. Peace.